to start with some stories of bitachon or olden day stories from a while ago. One is about a Hasidic master. He was a Rebbe from the dynasty known as Alexander. The Alexander dynasty was a very large one. In fact, I think it was one of the largest before the war, and most of their Hasidic dynasty was wiped out in the war. And so the Rebbe, his name was Rebbe Yechiel, and he had a son whose name, if I'm not mistaken, was Yisrael, and he had a book that he authored called Yitzmach Yisrael. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Freda. Nice to see you both. Thank you for joining as well. And they went, I think for maybe a medical reason, they went like to a remote area in a forest where the weather was nice and there was no people around and there was fresh air. It was everything he needed to improve his health. Um, so the father was very ill in the forest. Like something happened in the forest that his health like took a turn for the worse. And there was no one around. Forget about phones. This was a while along. This was like a century ago, but there was no one that he could even run to ask for help. So it was very dangerous. And the son like took an oath, which is a very serious thing in Judaism. He took an oath and he says, I take an oath that you will be okay. And the father heard that oath and he was very, very ill. And he stepped outside of the tent that they were in or something, and he prayed to Hashem and he got better. So after he improved and his health got better, he asked his son, like, how could you take an oath? Like, how could you be so certain with an oath that I'm going to be better? Like to have such confidence. And he replied, quoting the Ruzhiner, which was another Hasidic Rebbe that lived a century prior to this story, Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin, who was the grandson of the Maggid of Mezrich. So he was a very special giant of a Hasidic rabbi. And he quoted, if I'm not mistaken, from chapter 13 of Psalms, where it says, Adana ashis eitzes benafshi, until when will I give counsel on my soul? And I just pulled it up here. Just want to see if Rashi says anything on it. Um, anyway, in verse 13 of Psalms, it says Ad Ana, and it says Adana, which means for like how long? How long, God, will you forget me? How long will you hide your face from me? How long will I take counsel in my soul, having sorrow in my heart by day? How long will my enemy have the upper hand over me? And anyway, Rashi on right away before even the continuation of the story, I just found Rashi to be very interesting on here. Rashi says that King David uses the words ad ana, which means how long, for how long. King David uses it 4 times to correspond to the four exiles that the Jewish people had, the four kingdoms that exiled the Jewish people was Babylon, Persia, Greece, and Rome, Rome, which is the current exile that we're still in, the longest of them all. So the Adana, how long, is talking about these exiles. But anyway, the Ruzhiner, I have to remember the exact details of what his teaching was. But how long will I take counsel in my soul? As long as I'm taking counsel in my own soul and not seeking out Hashem, that's how long it's going to be. Only when I turn to God, which is the next verse, Habita aneni Hashem Elokai, look and answer me, O God, enlighten my eyes. Meaning that's when, as long as you put your eyes to Hashem and not trying to have your own counsel, when you're not relying on yourself, but you know only to rely on Hashem, that's when you'll see the salvation. That's when you'll see Hashem in your life. And so the son of this Rebbe, he said, I knew that we have no other choice. We have no one else around that could help us. I put my full trust in Hashem. And that's why I can be so certain that Hashem will help us, because we're only going to trust in Hashem. So it's that, I think if you were to sum up, Shar habitachon, it's this idea of having a full trust in Hashem happens when it's exclusive. It's not like I trust in Hashem and in other things. I trust in Hashem and in my work or in the weather or whatever else. Everything is fully in Hashem. We had my son's bar mitzvah on Sunday. It's so easy. Um, even leading up to the bar mitzvah, we did it, thank God, at our Chabad house on a beautiful. The weather was beautiful, but before the bar mitzvah, I'm checking the weather because it's outdoors. We started the bar mitzvah in a tent outdoors. What if the weather doesn't cooperate? There's all these what ifs that could come in your way. But when you have this bitachon, you're not trusting in Hashem and in people putting up the tent and making sure the weather, everything is straight from Hashem. Right after the bar mitzvah, we flew together, Levi, Adina, myself, and Adasa. Actually, we flew to New York so that Monday morning, Levi could get his first aliyah by the Torah. He could get it in the Rebbe's shul, in the Rebbe's office, which is in 770 Eastern Parkway. And Vivian, we've been there together. And I would highly encourage all of us, we should take a community trip to Crown Heights. And it's just an incredible opportunity to see the Rebbe's community, the Rebbe in action by being there. So anyway, Levi got his aliyah there. It was a beautiful day. And then on the way back, we had a flight out of Newark, which is anyone has flown from Newark, chances are there will be a delay and was fine. But like having a bitachon mindset, it's like amazing. No, this is the exact flight we were meant to be on. We're supposed to be waiting on the tarmac for this amount of time. It changes everything in your life when you're able to have a perspective. Last week in our last chapter of chapter 7, one of the quotes we learned inside in the text, and I just want to linger on it for a minute. It's such a beautiful quote. It's like one of the phases of our bitachon that it talks about. Like it talks about the 10 steps, which is, you know, relying as a baby, you rely on your mother's milk, on your mother's breast. That's all you know. You don't even know your mother. That's your source of your trust in that. And then you develop into trusting in your mother and then your father and then work and then then the employer and it goes on. But like a bitachon mindset is one that you're able to wake up in the morning and say and be able to confidently say that I never woke up in one situation and wish that I was in another situation. So many people deal with pain, and we all deal with it. We all deal with regret. We all deal with issues in our relationships. And it's so easy to say, I wish I was in a different relationship, or I wish I was in a different family, or I wish I was in a different house, or I wish I was in a different job, or I wish there's so many things. I wish I would have made a different decision to do, to be here this day and not there. I wish I would have gone into this line at Costco and not that cash register line. It's so easy to always wish for something else. And a bitachon mindset is, no, this is exactly where I want to be, that I could wake up in the morning after a prolonged challenge that I've been dealing with. And sometimes you wake up and you're not even sure where you are. And you're almost, when you come back to your senses and you realize where you are, you're like, oh, it's this. So a bitachon mindset is you're fully in tune with where you are and who's around you. And you don't wish you were anywhere else. It's a very powerful place to be at. And that's a bitachon mindset. In order to get that, it's like a constant workout that every situation. So bitachon is not it's not like you graduate and then you're there and you have it. It's every day, it's a new challenge and a new bitachon growth opportunity. The Rebbe wanted not only to learn Shar bitachon, but to learn it several times, like 3 or 4 times was the Rebbe's advice to people. And this wasn't just the simple people that were dealing with challenges. The Rebbe gave this advice to rabbis, complained to the Rebbe about a situation they were in. And the Rebbe's like, it seems like you're not learning bitachon. Learn Bar Shar bitachon. What's interesting is, if I'm not mistaken, in the 50s, I don't think I shared this before. I think in the 50s, yeshivas asked the Rebbe's advice about teaching bitachon in yeshiva. And the Rebbe's comment was, the text on its own could be too difficult to study without a commentary. So make sure if you're going to study it, it should be with commentary, which is just interesting because there's so much to unpack in the book, and the text is quite dense. It's really the discussion around it and the practical steps around bitachon. I think is where it makes it very, very powerful. They say the story of Ramatol of Chernobyl, who was a big chassid of the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid of Mezrich, um, during the time of before the Alter Rebbe. And a chassid of his, of Ramatol of Chernobyl, was telling his teacher, telling him his daily schedule. Telling him that he wakes up and he does some work and then he goes to daven. And usually we daven first thing in the morning. Chassidim study first and then daven to get yourself in the right mindset with meditation. But like the idea of working and then going to daven, it doesn't sit well. So the Rebbe asked him about it. Like, so your schedule is that you buy your merchandise from the market first, then you go daven, and then you sell the merchandise. Like, it's not the way we wake up. So the chassid, who is the business person, answered that he needs to do it this way because by the time he finishes davening, there's nothing really left in the market. They open at 6 a.m. And if I'm not there and to buy the merchandise when there's still good options, I'm left only with the leftovers, and I can't really sell those. I can't, turn it around into a profit. So the Rebbe told him a story. The Rebbe told him that there was a story of a teacher. A teacher, a melamed is the Hebrew word for a teacher. And this teacher, the way he worked back then in the shtetl that he was in, he didn't have work in the shtetl he was in. There weren't enough children. There wasn't enough support. So he would travel to other cities to teach in other cities. And after a year of traveling and teaching in different places, he would come back with his salary that he made over the time, his payment. So his family, his wife, his children would wait around all year for their father to come back home. And they didn't have money because they were waiting for the father to come back home with the money. So they would take everything out on loan. And when he would come back, he would pay back all the debt that they accumulated over the year while they were waiting for him to come home. So anyway, this teacher was on his way home. And the way different cities, they paid him in different they paid him gold coins, silver coins, copper coins. He made his money, but it was different bills, $100 bills, $50 bills. So in those days, it was gold coins, silver coins, copper coins, and he had to stop somewhere for Shabbos, and he was very worried about, being on the road and his profit, his money being stolen. So before Shabbos, he dug a hole behind the building of the inn where he was planning to stay, and he covered it up. And he was like, "Hey, now I can go in for Shabbos." But right before Shabbos, he got all panicked. Like, I'm going to be inside. I'm going to go to sleep tonight, and someone could just dig this up, and it's going to be Shabbos. I won't even know. So right before Shabbos, he dug it up. He brought the chest, his bags of coins inside, and he decided he's going to give it to the innkeeper to put in a safe spot. Because the innkeeper is Jewish, and he's going to, trust the innkeeper. So he gave it to the innkeeper, and he says, "Can you just store this for Shabbos and give it back to me after Shabbos?" So the innkeeper said, "No problem." And then he's about to start davening. He lit candles, and then he's like, "What type of shlemazel am I? I never met this guy before, and now I didn't even write a contract with him. So now it's just my word against his word. I'm gonna say I gave you this things for safekeeping," and he's gonna like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and then I'm gonna have no way to prove it. So it was Shabbos, and he panicked. And again, he's a God-fearing Jew and everything. He's a teacher, but he couldn't take it anymore. He was going crazy. So he went to the owner, the innkeeper, and he says, "Give me my money." And the innkeeper's like, "It's Shabbos. I'm not going to handle money on Shabbos. Give me." He starts yelling at him. So the innkeeper says, "Okay." So he figured out a way to do it Shabbos in a kosher for Shabbos way. He gave him the bag of coins. And by the time that he was giving him the coins, this teacher was in the middle of reciting the evening prayers, the Kabbalah Shabbat. And he was in the middle of the Amida, which usually many of us are familiar. In the middle of the Amida, you don't interrupt, you don't stop. It says even if a king comes to you, you should like it's questionable if you should answer or not because you're fully in dveikus, you're fully in a conversation with Hashem. But he was so panicked. He was in the middle of davening, and the innkeeper is like, "Here's your money." He interrupted his davening and he started counting up. He started with the gold coins and he counted. He didn't just want to see if it was there. He counted each coin. And then he went to the silver coins and he counted each coin. And then he went to the copper coins and he counted each coin. And when he saw everything was there, he continued davening. So the innkeeper, by the meal after, the innkeeper was like, "You're already asking for money, and I hand it over to you. And you see that the gold coins are there, and you count the gold coins, and the gold coins are there. Do you really think that if I left the gold coins there, I would have taken the silver or the copper coins?" That's the end of what Reb Matal of Chernobyl shared to his chassid. And what he continued in that from that story, what he continued, he said, "Do you really think if you woke up in the morning and Hashem gave you back and restored your soul in you, that you should be worried about your income, that the merchandise is not going to be there when you need it? If he took care of the golden parts of you, which is your life, your health, and you wake up and your house is there and your family is there, you're really worried about the silver and copper coins, the less important things in life, your income." So that's, I mean, it's an incredible perspective. But if you were following in the last chapter 7, we went through 10 different stages or processes of our bitachon, one higher than the other. And the highest one, which is the 10, I just want to quote it again because really that's, the level that Ramato of Chernobyl is telling people to be at, from this section of the book. When he is alone and undisturbed by other people, he would take pleasure when remembering his creator, and he would feel desolate when not pondering his greatness. It's not even a feeling he has. All he knows about is Hashem. If he is among people, his only desire will be to please his creator by fulfilling Hashem's will. And he will long for nothing other than an encounter with Hashem. Um, he will recognize the greatness of the world to come, which is eternal. He will despise the world and all the worldly means through which a person obtains its pleasures. He'll give himself over to God. May he be blessed with this thought, uh, soul, and body. So I just want to capture one moment of here. Unfortunately, one of the blessings I have of being a Chabad rabbi is I get to spend time with people as they're passing away. And last night we just had a dear friend of ours in the community that passed away very, very young, and he died from cancer. And there's someone else that I've been going to visit every day, and it's very hard. The other man, he's older. Both of these people I knew since the first month of moving to town, so I knew them for over 13 years around. And this one of these, I get to be with people at their end of life, and never do you see a person say, "I wish I would have invested in that stock. I wish I would have, kept that car." Though that's irrelevant at the end of a person's life. No one, it's not even up for discussion because it's so petty. I wish I would have made another million. No one cares. And we all know that. Usually it's what impact did I have on other people? Usually it's what legacy will I be remembered through? How do I want to be remembered? And and that's important. But on this level of bitachon that we're at, it's like you get to a place where all you care about is my relationship with Hashem. Everything else will fall into place with my relationship with Hashem. But all you grow in is how could I be closer to Hashem? Um, they say there was a chassid. I have to remember the details. There's a niggin, a melody of his. His name was Rabbi Yaakov, and he was a chassid of the Rebbe Rashab, of the fifth Chabad Rebbe. And it says for years, there's a Mishnah that says um, um, uh, you should limit the pleasures of the world that you take in. And it says, "Pas b'melech teichem." You should eat your food as bread with the salt. You sleep on the ground. It's not publicized for everyone to practice. But there was this chassid that lived this way. He never slept in a bed. He slept by his chair with a book in front of him. That was his. He would doze off at night, and then he would wake up, learn a little more, fall back asleep. But it definitely affected his health. And toward the end of his life, he regretted it. And he says, if I would have taken better care, slept properly, eaten properly, I could have had another day of putting on tefillin. So he almost looked at it, in the past, it was more selfish. But if I would have taken care of myself, one more day of tefillin I could have had. So the level, on this stage of betachin, it's really all you care about is your relationship with Hashem. And with all the people around you, all you want is you just rejoice in Hashem, not in things that are happening in this world. So many people that I speak with are so affected by elections both ways. I'm not even getting into the politics of it, but are disappointed in this person, disappointed in that person. On this stage of Petachim, it's not even that I put my trust in Hashem and it's all going to work out. All you care about is Hashem. And, he ends off this 10th level. This is the greatest level of all the levels that are for the prophets, the pious ones, and special individuals with pure hearts. So this is definitely not for everyone. But as we know, the Alter Rebbe of Shneur Zalman of Liadi, it says that he would be in a state of meditation, and he would almost like speak unconsciously. He would like roll on the floor, and people would listen in to what he was saying as he was in conversation with God. And in his conversation with God, he would say it in Yiddish, but it's a famous line, and it seems like it wasn't just a one-off. It wasn't just a one-time statement. It seems like it's something he constantly would, in an unconscious state, this is what he would say. And he would say it in Yiddish. He would say, Ich will the garnish. I don't want anything. Ich will nicht dein Elam haba. I don't want your world to come. I don't want the rewards in the Garden of Eden. All I want is you. That's the highest level of betachon, where it's not even put your trust in Hashem and your boss will be nicer to you. Put your trust in Hashem and the weather will cooperate for the bar mitzvah. Put your trust in Hashem and your flight will depart on time. When Adina and I were planning to get engaged, the way Hasidim get engaged, we don't just propose and snap a picture and post it on Facebook and then it's official. The way we get engaged is we go to the Rebbe and we get the Rebbe's blessing. So before the 3rd of Tammuz, before Gimel Tammuz 1994, June 1994, people would write into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe would give his blessing, his askama, his blessing for the match. After the Rebbe passed away, a young couple would go first to the Rebbe's resting place, pray by the Rebbe's resting place for blessings, and then they would come out, and that's when it became official. So I remember when Adina and I were planning to get engaged, we had a date that we wanted to go to the Ohel, and my mother was going to fly in from Montreal, my in-laws from San Diego, and after going to the Ohel, we were going to have an engagement party in New York with friends and family. But my mother's flight from Montreal this was the dead of winter. This was like December 31st. It was like freezing cold and crazy blizzard. And my mother's flight kept on getting delayed. And we really wanted to go to the OL that night. And so, Adina and I started taking a betachon mindset, which is let's think positive. It's going to work out. We'll reinforce our betachon. And we talked about betachon, and it worked. We talked about betachon, and my mother's flight took off and arrived at JFK, and we went straight to the OL, and it all worked out because we had that betachon mindset. But this higher level of betachon is not even have betachon and things will work out. It's have betachon because that's all I care about is my connection with Hashem. So again, we're not at that level. Our betachon is so that things work out for us. Our betachon is that Hashem will take care of us. But it's beautiful to see what else we could strive for as we conclude the book. And really, we should start it again from the beginning because it's a constant effort, like I shared before. But to know that it's something that we always have to work on, so that when I wake up in the morning, betachon means I don't wish I was in a different situation. When you know that you're nervous about what's happening that day. The bank is going to call you for the mortgage, and the plumber is going to call you for a bill, and the IRS is after you for, and the property tax people are after you for this. You're just like, oh, why did I get myself into? And this is exactly what I need to be in. This is Hashem saying, I love you. That's betachin. Um, and from that story, like Ramatul of Chernobyl, who shared the story about the teacher, that if he takes care of your golden coins, he'll take care of your silver and copper ones. When life rears its ugly head and you feel like it's too much, we know at the end of the day, we never went hungry. We know at the end of the day that Hashem takes care of us. And if he takes care of us for the bigger things, he could take care of us for these smaller things as well. Um, okay, so let's um, okay, any questions on this? Okay. Um, so chapter 7, which is the final chapter of Shar B'tachin, it started with telling us what the impediments to B'tachin was. One was not understanding God's mercy. Number two, not understanding, having an ignorance of Torah, which means it teaches us, like we're learning right now, how to have B'tachin. And also, the third one, which is a really important one, is you think that your surrounding environment is what has the biggest effect on you and have the biggest influence around you. So therefore, I'll put my trust in them because they're the ones that have the biggest influence. But like we know the story of the king, you don't even see him, but they're the ones that have full control. And Hashem, who you don't see, he's the one that has full control, and that's where your betachin should be. And then we went into the progression of betachin and the highest level, and the 10 wording, the languages of betachin. But ultimately, the betachin mindset is one that it's beyond emuna. Emuna you're born with. Emuna, faith in God, is something you're born with, and something you have in the back of your mind and your heart. You have faith in Hashem. Emuna is like oxygen; it's there always, and you don't even realize you have it because you breathe all the time. You have air all the time. Bitachon is constant thing that you need, that you consciously need to bring out, meaning air, it's there, and you rely on it. That's emuna. Um, and when you're underwater, you realize how much you need that breath of air. So there's times that your faith comes out and you show it strongly. Bitachon is more like food and water, where it's constant. You need another bite. You can't go a few days without it. There's a constant work that needs to be put at it. That's more bitachon. So faith is emuna. Bitachon is more trust, reliance, or as we translate it all the way at the beginning of the book, a feeling of serenity, shalva, knowing that Hashem is in charge, knowing that exactly where you are is where you need to be, and knowing that exactly who you're around is who you need to be around. If you're sitting on the plane and you're on the aisle seat or the window seat, you're in the middle seat, that's exactly where you need to be. You look at the person next to you and they smell like this. The person on your right is sneezing nonstop and coughing. And you're like, what did I get? There's a baby crying right in front of you all night long. You're like, I chose the wrong plane. I chose the wrong seat. But talking is, no, this is exactly what is needed for me. This is Hashem taking care of me in the best way. Anyway, we could go on and on, but Bitachon is just an incredible place to be at. And Bitachon has, we went through the translations, but in Hebrew, when you want to say for sure, you say betach. When you want to say security, it's this word. It's bitachon, Sarah bitachon. It's our security. It's our guarantee. It's our promise. It's our everything. Our assuredness is coming from our bitachon in Hashem. Yes, Freda.
Um, what was number 8 of the 10 ways that we raise ourselves?
Okay, cool. That's a good question. So I'm just going to go a few, let's just go through all of them. You ready? Number 1 is all you know is the milk coming from your mother. You're too young to even understand you have a mother. You just know you have milk coming from your mother's breast, and that's where I put my my trust in. Then you realize you have a mother. Then you realize my mother is being supported by my father, so it's really my father. Then my father is being supported by the skill. Um, so Eliana, all 10 start off on 242. Um, and I'm going to answer Fredo, which was on number 8, which is going to be on 245 at the bottom. And then you realize it's coming from your father. Then you realize it's coming from the skill that your father has, like um, the livelihood. Not the skill. It's the livelihood, the work. So it's the money that is coming from. Then you realize, well, you only get it based on the skill that you have. Like the scribe who said, as long as my hand is good, I'm in business. And then a person could lose that skill, but then still be able to. Um, um, I just listened to an interview yesterday, and literally on the plane, um, I listened to Chabad rabbi in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, who was he was fighting in Gaza in his reserve duty. He's in his 40s. He's a Chabad on campus rabbi, and he stepped on a grenade and he lost both of his legs. Just a month, less than 2 months ago, lost both of his legs. He was in the hospital, and there's this incredible video of seeing him dance from his bed. So he's dancing with his head on his arms because he doesn't have legs, and he's dancing. And in an interview later, he explained he was dancing because a year before he lost his good friend and he couldn't dance properly. So this year, even though I didn't have legs, I needed to dance to make up for last year's dancing that he couldn't dance because he lost a friend in Gaza in 2024. Um, anyway, he shared in an interview that my job didn't stop. I'm still the same person. It's just a new chapter. I can't do what I was doing before, but now I have to inspire people other ways. And he's like, I never had Twitter, I never had Instagram, but now I'm opening those all up because I need to share, I need to inspire other people this way. It's just an incredible mindset that Hashem could take, this back to the book, the scribe and who lost his hand, or the quarterback, his arm got injured, and therefore, what is he being paid for? Like he doesn't have a skill anymore. But you realize that there's something even beyond the skill. It's other people that are paying you. Then you realize that it's not anything to do with people. Number 6 was it has to do with Hashem. So you start relying on Hashem for things that you don't have control in. Then you progress your bitachon to realize that if Hashem's in charge, I could choose to either work with a harder job or work in an easier job, like the way he words it over here is either in a more dangerous means of a livelihood or in an easier, safer means of a livelihood. So I'll choose the easier or the safer one because Hashem's in charge. Number 8, Freda, was even I'm going to rely on Hashem, not only if it was easy or difficult. That has nothing to do with it. I'll rely on Hashem for the easy as much as I'm relying on Hashem for the difficult. So the one before was I could choose either a more difficult and dangerous or an easier and safer one. I'll choose the safer one because I rely on Hashem. The number 8 is even it doesn't make a difference if it's easy or hard. My intention is I'm doing the work. If it's easy or hard, I'm doing it because this is what Hashem wants for me. I'm doing it because I want to observe Hashem's commandments and I want to be in a relationship with Hashem, and Hashem wants me to work. That was number 8. Uh,
Thank you.
and then number 9 was progressing that even a step further, that Hashem in his great compassion, Hashem has great compassion on all of us, and therefore I'm going to fully dedicate myself to Hashem, whether publicly or privately, whether I'm in front of people or whether I'm just by myself. Everything that Hashem gives to me, I'm going to rejoice in. Whether it's good things that happen to me, whether it's bad things that happen to me, it's all coming from Hashem, and therefore I'm going to rejoice. So if I were to end here, this for me is ideal. Whatever comes my way, putting my trust in Hashem. My job, my car broke down. Thank you, Hashem. I'm so happy that I'm in life with you. You get to work and you're fired. Thank you, Hashem. You rejoice in this. There's an illness in your family. You're thanking Hashem. You get embarrassed publicly because you didn't realize that you're a kid, smudged chocolate all over your nose, and then you have to give a big speech somewhere, and no one told you. So you're giving a speech, and everyone's taking pictures, and you had chocolate on your nose the whole time. Thank you, Hashem. You feel so embarrassed, but I rejoice in Hashem because this is exactly what Hashem wanted me to go through. That's number 9. So I would say that's the ideal of what we were learning all the way through now. And then number 10 is even a step beyond that. And that's really what we were talking about. The what's really the prophets, the pious, the tzaddikim, they're the ones that are able to reach this, that it's all I care about is Hashem. It's not even whatever Hashem gives to me, I see Hashem in it, is I'd rather all I see is Hashem. When I'm around people, all I want is around Hashem. That's obviously going to be the greatest. Okay, that's bitachon. God willing, just give you a little bit of a heads up. Next Wednesday, I'm actually going to be on my way with Levi to the Kinnes HaShluchim, to the Rebbe's, the conference of Chabad rabbis taking place in New York. God willing, I will be on my flight on Wednesday unless anything changes, but Ezrat Hashem. So God willing, the next Wednesday after that, which is going to be November 19th, we will start a whole new discussion unrelated to Tanya. I mean, all related because the whole Torah is related. But we thank God study Tanya well. We thank God study bitachon as well as we can. And the next stage will be trying to understand what is Chassidut. So the Rebbe on the 19th of Kislev in the mid-60s, the Rebbe gave a talk on the essence of Chassidus. What is Chassidus? If someone were to ask you, what is Chassidut? What is this thing that you're studying that revolutionized the world? How do you explain it to someone? So in 60 seconds or less. So we're going to learn a book that's going to take us, I don't know, 60 days, 60 classes. It's not that big of a book. It's a pretty thin book. And I know, Eliana, I'm going to be picking up a book for you. I might ship it straight to you, Eliana, because I don't know when's the next time I'm going to see you. But either way, I would love to study this book with you. It's called On the Essence of Chassidus. You can either purchase a book or I'm going to also have it up on the screen, and God willing, we'll have recordings of all the classes. So that will be the next section. It's on the essence of Chassidus. It's a beautiful, beautiful understanding from understanding what is Moda Ani, the morning prayer we say in the morning. What does it mean based on Chassidus? What did Chassidus change? Did it change anything? Did it add anything? Did it? It's a beautiful, beautiful teaching of the Rebbe, and we'll go on to that next. Okay, thank you everyone for joining Mazel Tov on finishing Shar B'Tachon. I encourage everyone to restart it from the beginning. I'm definitely going to look for opportunities on my own or studying with people one-on-one to study this section of B'Tachon because it's a life changer. All right, everyone, Mazel Tov. Thank you, Freda. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Eliana. Thank you, Steve. All of you are invited to join us Shabbos for the continuation of the celebration. My son Levi's bar mitzvah. He'll be reading from the Torah, getting an aliyah. That's happening Shabbos morning. We would love for you to join us. Everyone have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Steve.